Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I am back with another sketchbook painting. For your reference, I'm still using the Holbein Acrylic Gouache. I am obsessed with the set, and today I'm going to be painting roses at night by the city lights. So the first thing that I'm doing right now is I'm using a pencil and I'm just lightly sketching out the whole composition of the landscape. So this part here, there will be like a rose bush, and behind there is a kind of like a little fence, and up there will be the valley where the city lights will be. So I want to start with the sky. On the top part, I'm painting this dark shade of blue. I mix it with a little bit of dark purple as well, and I slowly add a little bit of white as I kind of like go below, just right above the valley or the hills. And I'm going to take a different shade of blue. I think this is sky blue, and I'm going to paint this part here where the city lights will be later. I'm painting in this sort of kind of wavy shape to indicate like the mountains and the valleys in the background, and then after that I just kind of lightly blend it into the other blue from the sky. Usually I like to paint layer by layer, but this is quite a simple piece, so I've just decided to paint it as it is. So right below this blue valley, this is going to be the first rose hedge. So I'm painting this in like I think a shade of Viridian green, and then this part of the bush which I've marked out, I'm painting it in a slightly more olive shade of green. And then right below that rose hedge in the background, I'm going to paint just a darker shade of green, and this green is going to be the same shade as the rose bush in the foreground, this big rose bush here. To get this like really nice dark shade of green, I mix Mighty's green with a bit of Prussian blue and also Mars black. And right below the rose hedge behind, we're going to paint this kind of like a brick fence or the brick guard below it with a little bit of brown. So here I'm just mixing like yellow ochre with a little bit of Payne's gray so that it looks a little bit dark because it's nighttime, and the brown will kind of just blend into the background. And this patch here will be the road. I'm painting it in gray. I did a bit of minor adjustments there because I felt that this bush needs to be a bit higher, so I just adjusted that part of the bush to bring it up a little bit, and then now I'm painting gray for the road. I'm adding a little bit of darker shade of gray as well so that the road doesn't look too monotonous, and just a little shading will do the trick. Next, I want to give a little bit of leafy texture to the bushes so it doesn't look so flat. I'm using a round brush for this, a thick round brush, and then I'm just kind of like doing little swirly motions. I'm using the same color that I used on the first layer, and I'm just going to like kind of dab it around on the edges. Continue to do this as well. This is only important like for the edges so it doesn't look so flat like one straight line. Then I'm just going to continue to do here for the background, and then next we're going to work on the valley behind the roses. So what I want to do is I'm just taking a slightly darker shade of blue, but not too dark because this is supposed to be like far away and misty, you know, in the background. So I'm just kind of like using a bit of water, and I just make this layer of dark blue below the valleys, and then I'm taking a fine tip brush and I'm just drawing like a couple of buildings in rectangle shapes. It doesn't have to be very detailed because this is supposed to be far away. I'm just going to color it in a lighter shade of blue. Like some buildings will be in darker shade of blue and some will be lighter, but not too dark, because if it's dark means it's very close by. Once I'm done with the buildings, I'm going to add a little bit of light in the background. So what I'm doing here is I'm just using the tip of the brush, and then I dip it in yellow, orange and white paint just to give the lights a little bit of variety. I'm just adding a little bit of dots along the valley, along the dark line in the hills behind, and also some on the buildings. Okay, so on the left side of the canvas, there's this kind of like a big blank space over there. So I'm going to add a tree, and I'm using Mars black with a little bit of dark green. I also wanted to add a bit of shape to the tree. As you can see the leaves, so I'm kind of drawing out, like dragging out like little long blades of leaf on the side to give it a little bit more character. And for the background, just to give it a bit of an urban look, I'm adding some cable lines. I'm just using a very thin and light layer of black so that it doesn't look too contrasting, and because it's supposed to be far away as well, so things are supposed to look lighter. I'm using an angular brush to get those thin lines, and then I wanted to add a little bit of light in the foreground, so I'm drawing this lamppost here. This one I'm just using Mars black, and then for the lamp I'm using orange yellow with a little bit of lemon yellow and titanium white. So now I wet the brush, and this is a kind of like a long thin fine tip brush, and then I wet it and I drag the paint out from the lamp. Now we're going to add the leaves. I'm also using a fine tip brush for this. It's about size 000. So for this patch of leaves right below the light, I'm mixing green with light green with yellow, and I'm going to draw the leaves on it. So what you do is you just take the tip of the brush and then you kind of like dot it around with this little leaf shades, and then for the back as well, but it's just a darker shade of green and gradually lighter to right below the lamppost. Continue to decorate the rose bushes with more leaves, and for the leaves in front I'm using a more teal shade of green just to give it a little bit of variety. And then as you can see my strokes, I'm just dragging the paint down, creating the shape of the leaves, and for some of them I add a bit of highlights by adding a lighter shade of green. Now for the final touch, which are the roses. So for the background, the roses don't have to be detailed because you're just kind of like drawing little round shapes in pink. And then what I want to do now is I want to mark out my main roses. So the main roses will be like the big roses. How I paint these roses is, first, I'm also using a fine tip brush for this because it's so much easier to control. I'm using titanium white to draw the shape of the rose, and then in the middle I add a little bit of pink and just a dash of red for the heart of the rose. I'm kind of going back and forth from front and back. So anyway, the back one I continue to add more like little pink circles, and then as it comes closer, then I add a bit more detail for the roses, so they start to come bigger in size gradually. So don't forget the rose bush below as well. You can add a few roses hanging down, and then maybe you can spice it up with a little bit more pink, and the front one here will be like your focus roses. You can paint them facing different directions or facing front, so it looks a little bit more natural. By that, you can kind of adjust it with the heart of the rose, the dark part, so that will kind of decide where your rose is facing. So for the roses, they're not exactly like in just a circle, but you kind of like rose petals. They're a little bit uneven around the edges, so you can just paint that as well. And I've decided to add a few rose buds here and there, and then it is complete. So I actually really enjoyed painting this simple landscape. I think it looks fantastic with Acrylic gouache because it has the vibrancy and it also has this nice matte finish that is perfect for illustrations. Anyway, I hope you'll find this tutorial useful. I had a lot of fun painting this. It was actually quite fast, so I hope to see you again in the next video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.